Pol Pot, born on May 19, 1925, in Kampong Tom Province, Cambodia, is infamous for leading one of the most brutal regimes in modern history. As the head of the Khmer Rouge from 1975 to 1979, Pol Pot imposed a totalitarian regime that devastated Cambodia. Under his leadership, the Khmer Rouge carried out the Cambodian genocide, leading to the deaths of up to 3 million people between 1976 and 1978. Pol Pot's government forcibly evacuated cities, subjected the population to severe hardships, and left behind a legacy of fear, poverty, and destruction. Pol Pot was born Saloth Sar to a landowning family. At just 5 or 6 years old, he moved to Phnom Penh to live with his older brother and was educated in a French-style curriculum. Despite being a mediocre student, he pursued carpentry for a year when he failed high school entrance exams. In 1949, he won a scholarship to study radio electronics in Paris, where his interests shifted towards revolutionary activities. He joined the French Communist Party and became involved with a group of left-wing Cambodian nationalists. Although Pol Pot spent more time on revolutionary activities than on his studies, his scholarship ended after he failed his exams, leading him to return to Phnom Penh in 1953. Pol Pot's early years in Cambodia were marked by teaching at a private school from 1956 to 1963. However, due to suspicions of his communist affiliations, he left Phnom Penh and adopted the name Pol Pot. Over the next 12 years, he tirelessly built up the Communist Party of Cambodia, which had been founded in 1960. By this time, he had firmly established himself as the party's secretary. His efforts would eventually lead to one of the most horrifying chapters in Cambodia's history. Pol Pot, a fierce opponent of both the Norodom Sihanouk government and the military regime of General Lon Nol, became the leader of the Khmer Rouge guerrilla forces that overthrew Lon Nol's government in 1975. After taking power, Pol Pot became the Prime Minister of Cambodia under the Khmer Rouge regime from 1976 until January 1979. When the invading Vietnamese forces ousted him. During his rule, it's estimated that over 1 million people died due to forced labor, starvation, disease, torture, and execution as Pol Pot enforced a radical program of social and agricultural reforms that devastated the country. After being overthrown, Pol Pot fled to bases in Thailand, where he continued to lead the Khmer Rouge in opposition to the newly established Hanoi-supported government in Phnom Penh. Despite being officially removed from the military and political leadership of the Khmer Rouge in 1985, Pol Pot still remained a key influence in the organization. The Khmer Rouge continued their guerrilla warfare into the 1990s, though their strength had been greatly diminished. By 1997, the Khmer Rouge was in deep decline, riddled with desertions and internal conflicts. In June of that year, Pol Pot was ousted from his leadership role and placed under house arrest by his own comrades. In July 1997, he was convicted of treason. Pol Pot died in 1998, with the official cause of death being heart failure, though rumors spread that he may have died by suicide. However, no autopsy was ever performed, leaving the true cause of his death uncertain. The Cambodian genocide is one of the most complex and tragic chapters in history. In the early 1970s, U.S. diplomats started raising alarms about the possibility of mass atrocities in Cambodia, drawing comparisons to the horrors of Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union. The Khmer Rouge, led by Pol Pot, gained support from fellow communist states like North Vietnam and China, which added another layer of concern about the spread of communism across Southeast Asia. By 1979, the Khmer Rouge expanded its ambitions, setting its sights on creating a new Angkorian empire. This led to attacks on the newly unified Vietnam, which eventually provoked Vietnam's army to invade Cambodia. At the time, China opposed Vietnam's invasion, and due to China's support, the Khmer Rouge was able to retain its seat at the United Nations until 1982, 3 years after losing power. The situation became even more complicated with the Vietnam occupation, China's backing, and the fact that the Khmer Rouge continued to hold power in many rural parts of Cambodia for over a decade after the Vietnamese invasion. These factors made the international response to the Cambodian genocide incredibly difficult and muddled, as global powers struggled to navigate the complex geopolitical landscape. The Cambodian genocide still casts a long shadow over Cambodia today. While the country made the transition back to a functioning democracy in 1993, when its constitution was ratified as part of the UNTAC operation, addressing the crimes of its dark past remains a struggle. In 1997, the Cambodian government reached out to the United Nations for help in prosecuting the senior members of the Khmer Rouge. Although many of the regime's leaders had been tried in absentia after the Vietnamese took power in 1979, they were never formally punished. This led to the creation of the extraordinary chambers in the courts of Cambodia, also known as the Khmer Rouge Tribunal, to identify and prosecute those most responsible for the atrocities. Since the tribunal was established, 5 members of the Khmer Rouge have been indicted. 3 have been convicted and are currently serving life sentences. 1 died during the trial, and the 5th was deemed unfit for trial and is awaiting further evaluation. However, the trials have sparked controversy due to their high cost and what some see as their ineffectiveness. Beyond the trials themselves, the court also works to provide support for victims and document the crimes, with no set deadline for when the court will cease operations. Interestingly, many of the locations tied to the genocide have now become tourist destinations. The Tol Sleng Museum, which sits in the former S-21 prison where many executions took place, serves as a chilling reminder of the past. This museum, established by the Vietnamese, keeps the site in the same state they found it, showcasing the horrific crimes of the Khmer Rouge. The killing fields, immortalized in popular films, are also major tourist sites, where signs mark mass graves of hundreds of victims. Cambodia continues to grapple with the tension between monetizing these painful landmarks and the desire of tourists to learn about its history. Today, the memory and legacy of the genocide live on through art. Recent songs and cultural expressions continue to explore the trauma left by the genocide and its impact on contemporary Cambodian society. This connection also extends to the United States, where many Cambodian refugees resettled after escaping the horrors of the Khmer Rouge regime.